Welcome back. Today we have another amazing guest interview, Kristin Burke. Kristin, thank you so much for joining us.
Julie, thank you so much for having me.
I am so excited for this conversation. First of all, I know that we both like to geek out on all the things around goals and helping people to achieve their goals. So I know we're going to have such a juicy conversation. And I want to make sure to give Kristin a proper introduction because you have done so many amazing things and help people. So Kristin's mission is to help others maximize their potential and achieve their definitions of success. That line alone, I'm like, yes, I'm in. As a goal achievement coach, Kristin collaborates with women, entrepreneurs, and leaders to accomplish breakout performances. Her clients excel with goal clarity, growing their confidence, and consistently pursuing progress in the direction of their goals. After working over a decade in a male-dominated industry, Kristin is passionate about empowering women to advance professionally. Her curiosity for women having it all blossomed in graduate school, where she authored her thesis on work-life balance. After concluding that the very word balance, such a good topic, communicated as an unrealistic reality, she started her quest to help others understand how to thrive personally and professionally. Kristin launched her coaching practice after advancing in her corporate career from an intern to a senior level director. During her tenure with a Fortune 200 financial services firm, Kristin coached hundreds of small business owners as they developed and grew their practices. She established the platform for the organization's top-ranking internship program, supported leaders in their development journeys, and recruited talent to advance the organization's impact in the marketplace. The achievements of the recruits and professionals under her guidance led to setting multiple company records. Amazing, oh my goodness, in her organization and throughout the country. She has spoken at numerous annual meetings, regional meetings, leadership clinics, and women's summits. Kristin is married to her high school sweetheart, Joe, and they have a vivacious 9-year-old Scarlett. In her free time, Kristin enjoys finding flow through her hot yoga practice, Peloton rides, and reading. There are so many things in there that I want to dive into, so I'm so excited. First of all, I absolutely love the bio. I love the blend of your experiences with a little bit of the personal touch. So share with us a little bit more just about, in your own words, who you are and what you do now.
Julie, it's so interesting to sit back and listen to someone introduce you. It's like, oh, that was me, and oh yeah, I kind of forgot I did those things. So thanks for the boost of motivation here on this early Tuesday morning. So I am a goal achievement coach, and what that means is I help my clients close the gap between the goals that they set and the goals that they achieve. And outside of business, I am a podcast host as well. So I host a podcast called Elite Achievement, where I talk all about growing your business and achieving your goals. And then, as you mentioned in my bio, I am married and I am a mama. So those are really, really important roles to me. And then outside of my professional and my personal life, I consider myself to be an ambitious woman. And I know sometimes that word ambition can sometimes be a dirty word, but I love thinking of myself as an ambitious woman. And I am also a self-improvement enthusiast. So I absolutely love to read. I love to listen to other podcasts and love to help myself grow and develop.
Oh my gosh, so many things in common, right? As I'm listening to you, I'm like, yes, 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 I love it all. I agree with you, this idea of this ambitious woman, and also as a mom, so as someone else who, is a mom to a almost 7-year-old, and it's so interesting when you say the word balance, just whatever balance means, whatever that is, juggling all of those hats and all of those roles. So I want to dive in first to the goals, and then we're going to talk through all these things. So I love when you said, so the goals that people set and closing that gap between the goals people set and the goals that they achieve. So tell me more about that, because that line alone has a lot of gold in it.
Thank you so much. Well, I think a lot about the goal setting process, and it's fun to set goals. Well, I think it's fun to set goals. I mean, I built my entire business around setting goals, so I hope it's fun. But it's a space where we get to be aspirational and we get to think about what we want our life to look like, what it is we want to do. And so I think that goal setting process is a lot of fun, and people typically enjoy that part of the process. Where it gets tough is the goal achieving process. So we spend this time, and right now, we're recording this episode, it's Q4. This is the time of year where people really start thinking, what is next year going to look like for me and my career and me and my business and me and my personal life. So we're spending this time setting goals, and then we have these goals and we start to face adversity, or it's harder than we thought, or we're not progressing as quickly as we thought. And so the goal achieving process is actually where it gets really, really fascinating. And that's where I, as a coach, can come in and help hold people accountable. Because at the end of the day, we often want to stay very comfortable and we want to do things we're very familiar with. And that's where, as you know, our work as coaches, we can really come in and help pull people out of that comfort zone and hold them accountable to the things they need to do to achieve their goal. In addition to that accountability, I'm able to come in and help people talk through some of their negative mental narratives. So we all have this head trash, or we all have these stories that we tell ourselves. And sometimes there's some truth in them, but oftentimes there's not. And they are just these stories that are rooted in fear that are holding us back. And by being able to connect with a coach, you're able to really talk through your story. And Julie, so many times people will tell me, I can't believe that's what I'm thinking. As I say it out loud, it is so ridiculous. And those moments are powerful and they're game changers on the goal achievement journey. So you have accountability, you have overcoming those negative mental narratives. And then the other thing that is really critical that I can help people with is tracking towards their goals. So often we set all these goals and we're like, yay, it's going to be my best year ever. And then for whatever reason, we don't track them. And I love helping people think about tracking in terms of weekly, monthly, and quarterly. And that is a huge part of the goal achievement process.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so we're going to try and like dive into these because this, of course, I know you have so many amazing things to share. And I hear these things from my clients as well around just in general, anything, right? It's like, okay, I need accountability. People want accountability. But then of course, you know, I talk a lot about mindsets. We have the mindsets, like it's one thing to have the goals, but what's going to get in the way of achieving the goals? Yeah. My first question though, because obviously you have so much passion and excitement, and so do I can like hear my energy going up around goals. Why goals? Like what is it what was the thing that you're like, ooh, I'm very interested in doing this for myself, but now beyond that, I want to help other people do that. Like, what got you into that?
That's such a fascinating question because it's not like I woke up one day and said, I'm going to become a goal achievement coach. It's not like it's in the list of future jobs and businesses you can build. I knew I had a passion for coaching people. So when I made the decision to leave the corporate world and start my own coaching business, which has now almost been 4 years, it's crazy to think about. I made that transition December 2019. And when I made that decision, I knew I wanted to coach. So that part was really clear. And Julie, I started to think about how can I set myself apart from all the other business coaches out there in the marketplace? And I thought, I love setting goals and I love helping people achieve their goals. And I've been somewhat of a goal setter, I think you can say, my entire life. I straight A student, went on to graduate school. I used to run marathons. As you mentioned in my bio, I much prefer yoga these days. I've run 8 full marathons. 1 year, wow, I'll never forget this, 2013, I had a goal to run a half marathon every month because a half marathon is 13.1 miles.
Holy cow.
The year 2013. And I ran a half marathon every month. And 1 month I had to run 2. And I remember that was the year that my husband and we got pregnant with Scarlett. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to mess up my goal. Like that's God. Yeah. Crazy to think about, but I still ran those last few half marathons pregnant. Didn't have the best times, but I was out there waddling along, in December running them. So goals have just always been a part of who I am. I even remember too, I used to set up goal check-in calls with my friends. I mean, so most friends are, hanging out, they're talking about what's going on in the world. And I'm like, let's have a call every month on the calendar where we talk about our goals.
Talk about our goals.
It became a natural transition for me. And it's a topic I'm super passionate about. I have a ton of experience in, and I've helped a lot of people think about their goals and achieve their goals.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Yeah, that idea of just, it was almost innate in you, and helping you to stand out. Like you said, there's a lot of different business coaches and things like that. And I love that this is your focus because even being in this space, I don't know many other people who specifically focus on goals. And it's so important because it is literally the cornerstone, the foundation of us achieving what we want is you being able to set goals and figure out what's going to get in the way. What would you say, you've obviously been through it yourself and you help so many different people do it. What would you say is one of the biggest things that gets in the way of people achieving the goals that they're setting?
It's yourself. Like, we get in our own way. We're always looking for an answer, or gosh, if I just had the right like accountability group, I could achieve my goal. Or if I just knew more about this topic, I could achieve my goal. When at the end of the day, it's really what you're thinking. So it's your thoughts, it's your beliefs, it's how you're feeling about your goals that gets in your way. I'll give you a really small example. So I mentioned earlier that I'm a huge believer in tracking, and that you should track weekly, monthly, and quarterly. So I was doing my month-end goal review, and I was doing it a few days later than the first of the new month. So we always send out an email to our email list, a reminder to everyone to do their month-end goal review on the first of the month. And I have been traveling so much, and I was sitting in an airport doing my goal review. It was several days after the first, but I did it anyways. And I'm looking at my personal reading goal for the year. And I turned 40 in January. And so I thought, I want to read 40 books in 2023. Like, that goal it made sense. It sounded like a lot of fun. It was a few more books than I had read the year before. And when I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I am so far off track. I'm just off track. when I was doing this goal review in October, I had 13 books left I still needed to read for the year. I'm like, goodness, there's no way I can read 13 books, was my first thought. I'm like, well, that's going to kill your goal. Like, if you just don't believe you can achieve it, that is a goal killer right there. And instead, I started to think a little bit differently. I'm like, well, how can I achieve this goal? And I thought, well, if I read one book a week, and then over the week of Thanksgiving and the week of Christmas, where I'm not seeing clients, if I can read 2 books that week, I can actually achieve this goal and make it happen. So that's what I mean by how we can get in our own way. It's like, we have to actually believe in ourselves that we can achieve this goal. And that goes back to what we were talking about too, overcoming negative mental narratives and what are the stories that you're telling yourself. So I think a lot of it really comes down to belief.
Oh, I hear that so strongly, and I see this so much. I love that. So if you're listening here, I want you to pause this, and I want you to rewind, and I want you to re-listen to what Kristin just shared, because this idea of, if you don't believe it, right? If you're telling yourself either, oh, that goal is, I'm going to set this goal, but there's no way I could do that, it's too big. Or you set it and now you're going, oh, I don't have time to do it. You can truly amaze yourself at how much you can achieve in a short amount of time if you believe you can do it. And so yes. I love that. Instead of saying, I'm not going to be able to do this, I love that you asked that question. How can I? And I wrote that down. What a good reframe there. Like, how can I do it? So the mindset being one of the biggest hurdles. What about another thing that I see in here sometimes is setting realistic goals. Mm-hmm. So there's this idea of course, like, let's set those big lofty goals and have this thing to strive for. And at the same time, how do you support people in setting realistic goals for themselves so that they are kind of stacking up those wins?
Great question. And I think sometimes we confuse goals and vision, or we'll use the words interchangeably. And so some of those big, lofty, aspirational goals, those probably fit more into a vision bucket and something that you are striving to accomplish in 3, 5, 10 years, or whatever vision time frame serves you well. Whereas a goal, and I'm sure we've all heard of the SMART acronym, so specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, timely, or relevant. I think it might be relevant because achievable and realistic are kind of the same thing there. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times our goals that we're setting right now, they should be mile markers on the direction of your vision. So I wouldn't say that you have to do away with those lofty goals. I would just encourage you to put it in the bucket that it belongs. And it probably belongs more in a vision versus a yearly goal or a quarterly goal or a weekly goal.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I see that a lot too. It's like we can have that big vision, that big thing we want to do, but the goals are going to be more of those mile markers, those steps that people can do to achieve it. When you start working with someone, okay, and they come to you and they say, okay, this is, I've had this goal and I keep missing it, especially because I know a lot of the industry that you're working with is, numbers based and all of the metrics and all of that. And so what I've seen happen sometimes is people can go, I keep missing, like every month I keep missing this goal, and then they're really down. What is sort of like your initial process with someone for them to like kind of examine where they're currently at?
You need to go through a reflection. So when I start working with a client, our very first session is a reflection session where I'm asking very intentional questions, because I don't think we take enough time, Julie, to pause and understand our goal achieving tendencies and habits and behaviors. And instead we keep setting the same goal over and over yes. and we hope that one day we're going to achieve it. Whereas if we actually take that time and we reflect, we can learn so much about our beliefs and so much about our habits and so much about our processes. And we have so much information within, and maybe this is a little bit of the yogi in me coming out, but we are just bombarded with what other people are doing and what you should do. And there's all this outside noise that I think kind of can get in our way. So if you keep setting a goal and you keep missing that goal, I would highly encourage you to pause and go through a reflection and truly understand, what is it that's getting in your way? Are you not tracking? Do you need better accountability? Is it even the right goal to begin with? I think so often if we keep missing the goal, it's because we're not setting the right goal.
How do people know? I think sometimes it just makes me think that I think sometimes people, I don't know if stubborn's the right word, or they just feel like they need to do this thing. Either it's like self-inflicted or somebody else telling them. Right. And it's like they just keep hitting this wall, but they just keep doing it. Like how would they even know that, okay, I need to change this goal?
Well, I think two very simple questions you can ask yourself. What do I want more of, and what do I want less of? And during your goal setting process, if you brainstorm those questions, what do I want more of? What do I want less of? It can be really, really eye-opening, because one of the things you might find is you keep setting this goal because someone told you should set it, or you're seeing other people have it as a goal. It might conflict with things you want more of or things you want less of. And so that right there, your goals are not aligned with what you really, truly want. And that's where I really recommend a 4-step process to goal setting: visioning, reflecting, brainstorming, and planning.
Ooh, okay. Share those with us again.
Visioning, reflecting, brainstorming, and planning.
Ooh, I love it. Okay. And I love what you just said around, so many things just popped up when you said, what do you want more of and what do you want less of? So I want to dive into that a little bit more, because what you said was, if you keep missing a goal, maybe it's because something else. So for example, I'm thinking of somebody who maybe is setting really, really high business or career goals. And maybe they keep missing it because they also have really big demands on themselves for like health and fitness goals, let's just say. Sure. And that they actually want more of that. But they're almost in conflict with themselves because we only have so much time in a day, but they have both of these goals. Do you see that, where people are like, okay, they're trying to hit really big, massive goals in so many areas of their lives that it's just not sustainable?
Yes. And what we have to take a look at is your plan. So if you want to achieve really big goals in multiple areas of your life, do you have a plan to achieve those goals? And then what support or what help do you need along the way? So if you're trying to build a really big business by yourself while at the same time competing in an Ironman while also being the best spouse, I mean, there's a lot that's going on, right? There's a lot of things that are going to take up your time. And so that's where then you have to start thinking about, what support do I need? What leverage? What can I automate? What can I delegate? And I think those things will help you achieve multiple goals in big areas, because we've seen it happen. I mean, we can all see people on social media who are running really big businesses and also achieving a lot of things in their personal life. What we don't always hear is, what is the behind the scenes? What does the team look like? Well, how many people are helping? What are the processes they've put in place? And I think so often social media is painting an incomplete picture of what's actually happening in the goal achievement process.
Oh, that is so true. We see people and we compare ourselves to their careers, to their businesses, to their health, whatever it is, and we don't see the backside. Like, we don't see the back end of either how are they emotionally doing while they're doing all of that, and or who do they have helping them to achieve those goals. If you're a one-man, one-woman show, and then you're comparing yourself to somebody else who keeps hitting these goals over and over, and they've got a team of 5 people, And so I think it's also that reality. And so I'm curious because I think sometimes too, with that idea of us comparing, I think some people could look at you, Kristin, and say, oh my gosh, okay, well, she is achieving her goals. She's got this successful business. She helps other people. She must have it all together. So I'm so curious, do you have a story or an example of maybe a goal that you had set for yourself, even knowing everything you know, that you didn't achieve, and like share a little bit about it?
So let's just be clear. I certainly do not have it all together. I mean, just this morning, I was talking to my husband about, like, I'm feeling so stressed and I need to generate some more revenue for this. And yesterday, Julie, I was on a conversation with my peer accountability partner, and we're just both in this space of right now business is feeling hard and things that used to come easy aren't coming as easy. So let's just be clear that no matter what we put out on social media, we all are going through our own challenges and our own mindset challenges. I just started rereading the book, You Are a Badass at Making Money. And I read this a couple of years ago, but I'm like, I need this again in my life. Like this is the book
so
I need.
Good.
And, you know, I'm like dog-earing pages. Like, oh, that's that good reminder. So a story that I can share with your audience is that a couple of years ago, I had an idea to create a goal setting series. So I created the Elite Achievement Goal Setting Series, and Elite Achievement is the name of my podcast. So I was thinking, oh, this is going to kind of work branding wise. And I decided it was going to be kind of like a blend of a course and some live coaching and workshop style. And I spent a ton of time, energy, effort, and even money creating the content. So I hired a team to do all the design work for the PowerPoints and the workbook. And so it was really well done. And I did not spend enough time thinking about how to actually market the goal setting series. And going back to social media, I had this perception that if I just put it out there and put out a couple of posts, I'm going to have people flocking to my goal setting series. And I'm going to have no issue getting 20 people in the goal setting series. Well, I ran a pilot group. I got really good feedback from the pilot group. I'm like, this is going to be awesome. I built this whole social media post strategy, and I got 2 people to take the goal setting series. And you know where they came from, Julie? They didn't even come from social media. They came from direct outreach, like me reaching out to people I knew or people I previously worked with or people in my network. I'm like, hey, can you share this? So that direct outreach, and that's how I got 2 people. And so I hit 10% of my goal in the goal setting series. And then I did the thing that is the worst thing you can do when you are new at building something in your business. I stopped promoting it. I was like, this didn't work. This was terrible. I walked away from the goal setting series until right now. And this year I decided I am going to take the content from the goal setting series, of course, update it, add to it, evolve it, and I'm going to turn it into a course. And that's one of the big goals I'm working on right now. Is my very first course is going to be live coming out this December. It's called Goal Setting Success. And there have been so many mindset hurdles and so many roadblocks I have had to work through to get to this point to be like, my course is coming. And even now, Julie, I'm the bottleneck in my own process. So as I knew Q4 in my world is a very exciting time because my clients will hire me to come facilitate leadership planning days or advisor goal setting days. And I love going and spending this time with my clients and going into offices and being a part of their team. And that is pulling me out of the day-to-day. So I knew in order to make this course go live, I needed to hire help. So kind of going back to how do you achieve like multiple big goals, I knew I needed this support. So I brought a special projects coordinator onto my team. I hired a virtual assistant who's specifically helping me build this course. And she is crushing her work. And I am the bottleneck. I am like not looking at things. I'm like, oh, I'm doing my own goal achievement roadblocks. I'm like falling victim to them. I'm too busy to look at all this when I think really there's probably still some underlying fear and like hesitation, like the first launch didn't go well. And so, ooh, do I really want to put this out there in the world? But at this point, I've talked about it on my own podcast. I've talked about it with you. I've put
Here
a
it
lot
is.
of social media posts. So like, this thing has to happen because I have talked about it so much. Like, it's coming.
I jotted down so many notes that I just want to dive into a couple of these things. First of all, thank you for sharing. And I think sometimes people, again, they don't see this side of it, especially if you're building a business or you're building a big career where you're trying these different things and you're putting yourself out there. And more and more I feel like I see people talking about it, but it depends what circle you're in, right?
Sure.
It depends if you're with people who are open to being vulnerable. And so thank you for sharing a moment for yourself, because I do think it humanizes all of us. We look at somebody who is even out there helping people with the thing, and we just need to realize that we all struggle with those things. Like we all struggle with the trash, the inner voice, whatever you call it, the inner critic. We all struggle with that. Everybody, no matter where you are at. So if you're listening to this and you're like, they have it all together, we do not. Right before we hopped on and I was talking to Kristin, I'm like, yes, I'm nodding my head as she was sharing this example, because I have failed at so many things, even back, I think in my career, going for positions that I didn't get, or projects that I didn't maybe do great on. And now in my business, I fail, all quote unquote fail, right? But like all the time, I'll have failed launches. I'll have things that don't go well. And so we all have been there. We're all there. And I think sometimes when we say that, it gives people permission to go, oh, it's okay if I do that too. So I love that you share that. And then a couple of the other things that just so important that you talked about is, having that plan, then like knowing that stuff might come up for you and the roadblocks. And then I also feel like you're talking to me about the roadblocks that we put in. I'm in sort of redoing the back end of my business and redoing my website and all of these things. There's people waiting on me, and it's like, well, it's because I'm busy. But I don't know, as you were saying those things, like maybe part of it's like the fear of like the new language and the new wording I'm using and the hesitation. So thank you for talking to my soul. Yes. and sharing that with us. And so share with us again. So a couple of things you're putting in place. You hired out help. So to get you through this, what do you do for your mindset then, even though we know it's still going to pop up? What do you do for your mindset in these moments where you're saying to yourself, last time I launched this, it didn't go well. What are you doing to support that thought?
Great question. So I hired the virtual assistant. So I think investing is a really great way to help you achieve your goals. And I understand some people might not have money to invest, but investing time. So it could go either way. You're investing time or you're investing dollars to achieve your goals. The other thing I did, Julie, is I joined a mastermind. And there are times where I'm thinking, I joined a mastermind in Q4, my busiest quarter, and it really is exactly the accountability that I need to move this course forward. So I am an expert at building a client-based business. So I have a client-based business. I've been coaching advisors on building a client-based business since 2009. I am not an expert in the online space. And so I knew that I wanted to surround myself with other women who have bigger social media profiles, who've launched courses before. So I wanted to be in a room with people who knew more about launching a course than I did. And then I do. And so I really intentionally joined a mastermind at this time to help give me some of that education and inspiration to help me launch this course and move it forward.
I love that. So it's like the accountability. So if you're in this place and you are either afraid that you're going to miss a goal, you've missed a goal in the past and you're trying to do it again, what Kristin is sharing is, first of all, set up some type of accountability. So not only does the investing, right, investing in somebody or investing your time, and then whether it came up as pressure, I don't mean that in a negative sense, but like you're almost putting pressure on the goal where you either have like a timeline of it needs to be launched by this time, or I have somebody who's going to check in with me, and then surround yourself with people who have either done the thing or are going to support you as you get ready to do the thing and really get to that next level.
Yes. Well, and I want to add too, you were so gracious to be a guest on my podcast a few weeks ago. And I remember, Julie, you talked a lot about your morning routine and your practice of gratitude and writing down your 10 dreams. And I thought, I used to do that. And I used to have a very formal morning routine, and I moved away from that. But I thought, in this season where I have a lot going on, I'm managing a lot of different things in my business, that morning routine might actually serve me well. So I've started to bring back the practice of gratitude. And I think that's been really, really helpful, because instead of, sometimes waking up with the negative thoughts or the fear or the overwhelm, it's like, okay, let me just think about what I'm grateful for. And it's a really great way to ground yourself in a time where you might have a lot of head trash going on.
And I love that you said that season too, because I know as a high achiever, and I always say recovering perfectionist, because I haven't moved all the way through that tendency yet, even though I try. For me, it's like, well, no, this is my routine. This is my morning routine. If I don't do it, it almost sometimes feels like a fail. But I love that you pointed out the season, because we do have these different seasons in our lives where sometimes we need more of that structure and that plan. And sometimes we need more of that ease and that flow, which, like transparently, that ease and flow is harder for me. I'm like, I like the structure, but we need those seasons. I love that you bring that up too. Is sometimes we're in that season of we need more of that. And the same thing, sometimes we're in a season where it's a grind season. And sometimes it's a slow. I was at a event, a women's a conference event, and I love the example that one of the speakers talked about was that sometimes we're in like the left, like in the fast lane, and we're like, okay, I need to get out of my own way. I need to go for this goal. I need to hit it hard. And then sometimes we need to move over to like the right lane and the slow lane and be in more of a slow season to get ourselves ready. And so I think that's a great thing as well that I'm sure you see with people, is to know when is it that grind, like that push season, and when do they need to slow down so that they can hit it hard again without burning themselves out.
And I think that's really difficult for high achievers to do, because
yeah.
I think we believe every season should be a grind season. And, sometimes it'll take things like a health scare or diagnosis or to get you to actually slow down and think about what season should I be in and when. And, I told my coach already, I said, okay, next year as we're business planning, no new initiatives in Q4. So I think that's something that I learned this year as I mentioned my travels ramped up with the planning days I offer, and we're launching this course, and I'm in this mastermind. I'm like, holy potatoes. This is a big season for me to be in right now. And the other thing I'm learning about this big season is it really is challenging capacity. And I know we were talking about lanes, but this thought about capacity has been just floating around in my mind right now. And I think a lot of times we limit our own capacity. So we put these limits on our capacity until we actually go out and test it. And so I'll give you an example. You and I are both in the coaching space, and I don't know if you had this feedback or advice when you launched your business, but so many people ask me, well, what's your capacity? How many clients can you serve? And it's like, well, how can you really answer that question until you get in and start doing the work? And so I think that applies to our goals. So often we just limit our own capacity until we actually get in there and start to do the work and figure it out and find out what does feel right to me, what doesn't feel right to me. So I think capacity plays a big part in it too.
I love that too. And some, like you said, just being more open, right? Either way, to either know, ooh, I can do a lot more than I thought I could do, right, or ooh, I'm overloaded. And I also know that, especially I do, like you, I do different things. I do one-on-one coaching, I do speaking, all of this. And it's like, what's my capacity in these different areas? And I'm sure you found this, like I'd have a point in time where I just had so many one-on-one clients that I was like, ooh, wait, that's too much. That's too much and it's like, oh, I'm going to scale back. And you kind of find that sweet spot, but you don't often do that until you have that experience. So being open to what that could look like.
Yeah,
I love it.
Challenge our assumptions around capacity for sure.
And what's possible for you. And I also have found for myself, one of the only ways I've been able to do it, I'm curious for you too, with my goals, like I have actually gone to events where people are doing like so much better than me, quote, better. They're doing bigger things. They're doing bigger numbers, whatever it looks like, whatever your version of that is. And that's what got me to challenge my capacity, where it was like, oh, this is my goal. Oh my goodness, I could bump that up. Because I think other times that accountability or putting yourself in rooms with other people or with coaches, they show you what's possible that maybe you didn't really fully see for yourself yet.
Well, it's been said that you become the sum of the 5 people you're spending the most time with. And if you want to be a different person 5 years from now, examine the books you're reading, and I'm going to add the podcast that you're listening to. And so that's one of the things that's so incredibly freeing about the goal achievement process is we have so much of this within our control. So if you're not is satisfied with the goals that you're setting, or you feel like you're not setting big enough goals, well, who are you spending time with? And who are you chatting with about your goals? And who are you following on social media? I think that's such a powerful test, is like after you do a scroll session, do you feel better or do you feel worse about yourself?
Oh my goodness. There's so many amazing things that I feel like we could just keep talking about. I'd love to hit on just a couple things before we wrap up. So one of the last things that I always ask my guests is the name of the podcast is It Starts With You. And I know why I named it that. And I love to ask people just when you hear that, what does It Starts With You mean to you?
It means believing yourself, listening to your intuition, and recognizing that so much of achieving your goals goes back to belief and mindset.
Love it. Oh my goodness, I love it. Belief and mindset. And I'm gonna bring back out the thing you said before is instead of saying, if you don't believe you can achieve it, how can I?
How can I?
So that is the challenge for everybody who's listening. And I know that people, Kristin, are going to want to stay connected with you. So share with us how people can find you and stay connected, and then share more about your goal setting course.
Fantastic. Thank you for the opportunity. So if you liked what you heard today, I would encourage you to listen to my podcast, which is called Elite Achievement. It's on all the major podcast platforms. We can also connect socially on Instagram. I am at Meet Kristin Burke. And what we will do, Julie, is we will send you the link for the waitlist for the Goal Setting Success course that is coming out in December. And that course is going to walk you through the 4 parts of effective goal setting that I mentioned earlier: visioning, reflecting, brainstorming, and planning. So you're going to be able to walk out of that course with a vision, and you'll understand what are some of the roadblocks that get in the way of people writing and drafting a vision. I'll offer some of my favorite reflection questions and help you learn what are some of those tendencies and goal achievement behaviors and patterns that exist in your world. Then you'll be able to do a brainstorm around different categories of importance for you and your life as it relates to setting goals. And lastly, walk out of there with a plan to achieve your most meaningful goal.
Oh my goodness, that sounds amazing. And here's the thing is everybody is setting goals. Right? Everybody listening, I know you have some type of goal, whether it's personal, whether it's professional, health focused, business focused, whatever it is, you have a goal that you want to achieve. And so this sounds like this can help somebody at whatever stage they're at, whatever type of goal they have, because you're giving them these 4 steps to help them achieve it. So we'll make sure that we drop the link in the show notes so that people can go in and check that out. And you said it's launching in December?
Correct.
Amazing. Okay, thank you so much, Kristin. Make sure that for everybody listening that you write down all of the things, the amazing gold that Kristin shared. We absolutely love if you share it on social media and tag us and let us know what part really stood out for you. As you know, Kristin has a podcast as well. These are labors of love, and we absolutely love bringing it to you. And we also want to hear, what did you love? What are you taking away? And as coaches, we want to know, what are you putting into action? And so make sure that you share and tag us and let us know what you're doing. Kristin, thank you so much again for being on the podcast. And remember, everybody, that it starts with you, and your goals are so possible for you.